Okay, hi grade 8. Like I said, I'm going to do a grass frog dissection. This is a pretty big boy here, so I just want to look at the external anatomy a little bit. You can see that there's a double layer eyelid here, so frogs can open their eyes underwater and still see. He's a bit rigged here, but you can see the tongue, and the tongue itself can expand, right, to catch insects and those types of things. So you have a link on D2L, which shows you some virtual resources. Like I said, hopefully we can do this when we get back. But anyway, you can also see the big, powerful hind legs here that allow it to jump. The skin itself there's a layer, so the skin is porous, right? So the skin itself is its own separate organ, and the muscle tissue is underneath, right? There's a layer of diffusion on the skin, and the frogs spend a lot of time breathing through their skin. So I'm going to remind you that the parts on D2L that you need to know are posted in the newsfeed, and your diagram, so you can use this dissection and then any online resources to make your diagram that you need to submit to me at the end of the week. All right. So if you guys get to dissect, the first thing you need to do is make an incision with a scalpel. We'll go over scalpel safety and all that stuff when you guys are back. But you make an incision, peel the skin layer back. You can see the abdominal muscles here. Okay. And then I'm going to peel this muscle layer back. I'm going to open it up kind of like a book. So just underneath the throat, I'm going to make an incision. And then right at the end of the abdomen, I'm going to make an incision. Okay, and then I've got to peel the abdominal wall back. Now this is a female, and female frogs are typically larger. Female grass frogs are typically larger than males. Now this is pretty cool. This is a whole bunch of eggs. So all of these are eggs. Alright, so before this was euthanized, these would end up as tadpoles. Now these are raised in labs, right? It's not like these are being taken out of the wild. Our lab specimens are raised in industrial farms, and they are raised for this purpose. So it's not like we're taking a wild animal out of the wild. Now there's this girl is chock full of eggs. So these are all eggs, which is pretty cool. So we know, obviously, that that's a female. Alright, so if you want to draw the eggs, then you can do that. And let's look at some of the other parts. Okay, so I kind of sliced the heart in half, but the heart is right here. Okay, so this organ is the heart. There's a little fatty layer around it called the pericardium. Okay, so that's the frog heart. This right here, I'm going to pull that out. These are different lobes of the liver. Now the liver is quite big, right? It's used, it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of all of our organs. It's used to detoxify blood. It houses enzymes. It uses stores glucose. It does a lot of different types of things in our body. It helps store red blood cells and helps make parts of the immune system. All right, so that it has a lot of functions, so that's why it's quite large. So this liver tissue is this solid gray tissue. It's not very spongy. And then right behind it is the gallbladder. So the gallbladder is connected to the liver right here. And the gallbladder's purpose is to make bile. And what bile does is break down fat. It's an emulsifier. So if you have any parents that work in the oil and gas industry, you know they know what emulsifiers are. You can ask them. So let's look at some more tissue here. So this is the lung. Frogs have 2 lungs as well. They don't use them as much as we do. So these are the lungs. And you can see that the tissue is a little bit different than the liver itself. Okay, so that's the solid tissue of the liver, and that's the lung tissue itself. It's a bit spongy and it's elastic. It's like it looks more like a bag because that's what it is. Right? It's a bag to house air. All right, so that's the lung. You can see that it's stretchy. There's a lot of eggs in here. Okay, so these guys, so these little finger-like projections, that's actually fat stores. And you can see this female doesn't have a lot of fat. Oh, no, she does right here. These are big fat bodies right here. That is all fat. So that is stored fat. It's right up against her abdomen, so she is not really lacking a meal. So these frogs are obviously fed pretty well where they're raised. So this is all greasy fat right here. All of that. So that's pretty crazy. Right, all that is fat. Okay, let's look at the next part here. There's some more eggs. Fat bodies. I'm going to take this part out. This is the stomach.
Autumn, your mic's on.
Okay, so this is the stomach right here, and then this is the start of the small intestine. See if there's anything in it. So there are some food particles in here. So there's a leg here of an insect. Looks like he was eating June bugs. And you can see the inside of the stomach itself. It has these striated layers. It's like a muscle pump to break down food. Now here is, if I open up the stomach, there is part of a beetle. Right? So that is the cricket or the locust that it was eating before it was euthanized. So that's kind of cool. So there's the inside of the stomach. This stuff right here, all this like membrane, this is called the integumentary system. It connects all the internal organs. Okay, so this white stuff, that's the small intestine, so that's the white part. All right, so this is chock full of food, actually. So this is where we digest our food, and then when I look down here, okay, small intestine, and then the large intestine. This guy's got kind of a weird large intestine. So the large intestine is expanded a lot in this frog. It should be a gray color, and it should be about twice the diameter of this. So all these spindly tubes here, that's the small intestine. But the large intestine is actually really expanded. So this should actually be more of a muscular wall, but it's like a fibrous layer. So this is the large intestine, and inside here, that's kind of gross. There's digested insects. That's fecal matter. So I should wash my hands after this. But that also came out of the large intestine. So that's like frog poop. So this guy his large intestine is really distended. So he's stretched right out. So this guy was gorging on food so much that the integrity of the intestinal walls have been compromised. Now this is all red fat as well, which is interesting because it's not normally that color. So this right here, this is all fiber from the insect that she was eating. So that's all out of the large intestine. Which is kind of crazy. Okay. So here's some more eggs. And what I want to do is I want to find the kidneys. So the kidneys are at the back here. There's some more fat. There's more eggs and fat in here. And the kidneys should be right at the back, but I don't see them. You can see these are blood vessels. These things right here. There's the aorta, which is the main artery. I am not seeing the kidney here right now. That's really weird. That's more fat. This is a really fat frog. So the kidney looks like a kidney bean, and it's usually right at the back of the muscular wall, but I don't see it. It must be trapped inside these kidneys. Here's part of it. So this kidneys are actually really not healthy. So the kidneys are trapped, covered in fat. So this is probably an obese, unhealthy frog. And they're used to filter out metabolic waste, right? So that helps create urine. This part right here would be the bladder, but the bladder's been compressed as well. So this frog got a lot of health problems. Now the other piece that I want to try to show you, red fat here. is the ovary, and here it is. Okay, so it's all covered in fat still here too, but this connective tissue that I just broke, this connective tissue is part of the muscular wall that makes the ovary, and the ovary is back here. And it's covered in eggs, so it might have been shattered. But the ovary looks like one of these eggs. It's just a little bit bigger. Anyway, what I showed you was an oviduct or a fallopian tube, and the eggs come from the fallopian tube into, frogs don't have uteruses, but it would be into the cloaca of the frog itself. Here's an ovary right here. It's pretty big. It's this yellow piece right here is an ovary, and it's quite enlarged. Okay, so you can tell the difference between it and the fat because it has little kind of bumps and circles inside it, and it's a bit more solid. And those are the main parts. This frog has really weird anatomy. Anyway, there's a lot of negative effects due to obesity in this frog. So the large intestine was really compressed. This stomach is really expanded. So there's the stomach. Again, these are all egg sacs. Here's the heart. And the heart is covered in fat. So you can see the fat around it. Okay, so the pericardium. So that's the heart. These were the lungs. Let's see if I can open up the lungs actually. It's the inside of the lung. It just looks a little bit different. Liver, and then the gallbladder is attached to the liver. Now the gallbladder is right here. Okay, that part's the gallbladder. It would normally be more of a green color, but this frog's been dead for a while, so it's lost that. Lots of fat in this guy, and this is a distended large intestine. So it should be like a nice green healthy tubing that looks like the small intestine here. But this is the large intestine, and then this is also part of the large intestine, and it's been really expanded. I've never seen that before. And then this is all connective tissue that's connecting the large and small intestine together. Anyway, those are the main parts. Let's see if I can take an eye out. Yeah, okay, so here's a frog eye, and I'll see if I can get the lens out of it. So this is the lens. And this is how the frog, this is what's used, this lens itself, it's like a little ball of collagen. And it's adjusted, right? It's made fatter or skinnier in order to adjust to focus light. All right? You have one of these as well. Anyway, I think that's it for frog dissection, guys. So you can use this as a resource. All right? And you can use the online stuff that I gave you, and then this is due at the end of the week. All right, signing off. See you later, grade 8.